Está muy bueno. Espero que les haya gustado el coro, la verdad que es muy bueno. Bueno, les presento. Acá los muchachos son Chris Cormack y Paul Paulin. Ellos van a hacer una presentación sobre la historia del proyecto.
Bien, bonjour à tous, je m'appelle Paul Poulain, je viens de France, de Marseille pour ceux qui connaissent, et donc je vais vous présenter avec Chris l'histoire de Koha. Maybe you didn't understand anything. Right? It was a joke. I spoke French and he spoke Mari. He comes from New Zealand and I come from France. We will continue the presentation in English, so fortunately you will understand better. So, start. Brother first.
So, we're just going to do a brief history of Koha. Thomas already covered some of that in his talk in Spanish, so hopefully you understood some of that. You don't understand my accent. So, Koha was started in New Zealand in 1999. The library we wrote it for had a Y2K, a year 2000 problem. The library system was not issue books the right day, so it needed a new system. It needed to be cheap, and it needed to work on slow internet. And needed to be really simple to use. So that's where we started Koha. Do people hear me okay? Right. And so I was working for a little company there called Kohacon14. There were 14 of us. We started work in September of 1999 and we went live on January 3rd, 2000. So it's quite short. Library system. At the moment, we didn't have serials and no acquisitions. And everything was web-based except for circulation. It needed to be fast, and that was a 2 PC1000, so old. I was trying to Agile before Agile existed, so because my degrees in multi-studies, mathematics and computer science, no library science, so I didn't know how a library worked. So what I would do is I would go to the library for the day, I would work on the circulation desk, and I would go home and I'd write code, do what I saw, and then the next day I would go work in the picture management.
So the first version has been delivered on time. It means completely go live with the first version of Koha at the beginning of the new century. It was definitely the first full web ILS web, not exactly full web because circulation was not web-based, but all other things were web-based. And what was really a great idea, according to me, is that Katipo said, well, we are not a product vendor, we are a web company, so we don't want to sell this new software to all New Zealand libraries. So, what should we do? And they decided to go for an open source project. So they decided to release Koha first version as an open source project, saying, hopefully other people will be involved in this software, and this software will grow, and more users will use it, and more developers will work on it. After a few months, the first public release has been published. First of all, some sleep for Chris and the other developers, some bug fixes, because there were some bugs in the first version, of course, and the first publication has been made with also a website to present the software. So anyone could download the software and anyone could use it and get some information about how it works, have some screenshots before starting to try it, etc., etc. And it worked. I mean, releasing software as open source, there is one big challenge, which is attract other developers not to become software alone on your island. And when you come from New Zealand, you are on an island. But attract new developers to have more people involved and see the software growing. And the first developers arrived a few months or a year, 1 year after, Glenn Stewart and Steve Townsend, who contributed the web-based installation. The first non-English speaking developer was a Polish one, and I arrived just after him. He beat me, but I arrived a few months after him. I've been the first French developer involved in Koha at the beginning of 2002.
So, after Paul had started and Steve had written the web circulation, we did our second release, second major release, which was 1.2. And we set up a wiki at that point, and we made a bug tracking software to capture the bugs. And yeah, we had some major problems with doing translations because we wrote it in 3 months, we didn't really factor in doing translations. There was lots of hard-coded English and some Maori in there.
Not lots, only hard-coded English.
So we had to move to a system that we could translate. So we did that. And then Paul, his company, well, not company, no, just Paul, yeah, worked on putting smart support into Koha for libraries in the USA. And that was called Koha, which is in Ohio. And so by the end of that year, we had 17 emitters. I think it was 4 from Koha, so 13 from outside of the second year started by the end of the second year. And so yeah, by this time we were growing, we had maybe 50 to 100 users now, nearly 20 developers, so we needed to start trying to think of a structure for the project instead of just being whoever turns up does the work. So we elected, we have some positions, most of these positions still exist, except for Patriarchy. Patriarchy is a Maori word that kind of translates into English as guardian, but it's a bit more than that, it's more protector, I think. So the role for that person is to look after the project, look after all the people in it. Then we had Paul was the release manager, so Thomas is the release manager now, Paul was the release manager then. His job was to look after just the software. So the Kohacon looks after the project more, and the release manager more looking after that next project. Then we had a release maintainer. So I think Thomas talked about how we do 6 monthly releases. Back here, we used to just release when it was ready, which didn't work as well. But we had someone whose job was to fix bugs in the old version. We had a QA manager for about a month,
Maybe 2 more.
Yeah. Then I think we finally stopped doing Koha support. And we had a documentation manager.
So, the new functionalities that were expected in the next version of Koha were Mark support. One big challenge we faced is that in France we don't use Mark 21, and most other countries around the world use Mark 21. I think Argentina use Mark 21. Right? You know Unimark? Or some library are using it, or no? No. Oh, okay. But the goal since the beginning was to be multi-mark compliant. So Koha, since version 2, is supporting Unimark, Mark 21, and now also Normark, which is a Norwegian subversion of Mark 21. And if another must be implemented, it can be. new feature for the version 2 were serials. We also added the first steps of the statistics modules and the first feature of an advanced OPAC. The first OPAC was mostly the catalog, and since version 2 we added advanced feature like patron that can see the account, place a hold on an item, and do things like that. And since then we continue to add many more features, and now we have an OPAC that has a lot of features. OPAC is probably a wrong word, because it is not just an online public catalog, it is much more than this. Okay. And we also added a bulk import, which is a tool to import your own catalog into Koha. It was very important to get new libraries using Koha to have a standard tool where they export their catalog from the previous ILS and they import it in Koha.
And so, yeah, we generally, after every release, we elect a new team to look after the next release. So, we had a new vice actually, Rachel Hamilton Williams, and she was my boss at Koha. And so, then, yeah, with the new release manager, we were going to, the next version was going to be 2.4, but we ended up calling it 3.0 because we made so many changes. That was Joshua Ferraro. Paul became the release maintainer, had to look after all the bugs. Then we had another QA manager who lasted a little while.
More. He lasted much more, he lasted 6 months.
Yeah, and then Stephen Hedges, who was from Nelsonville, who did the market support, was a documentation manager. So at this point, we still didn't have a translation manager. It took a while. So from 2006 to 2007, this was doing all the work for 3.0. And so what we did here, we did a lot of work on speeding up the search. So in the old Koha, we used to search the mark inside the database, just using SQL, which actually gave quite a good result, but it was very slow, and more records you put in, the slower it got. So we moved to a thing called Zebra, which is made by a Danish company called Index Data, and it's a full text, well, it's a pretty much full text indexing. Anything you throw at with index and give you the results back. It was specifically designed to work with libraries, so set up to work with Mark, and it comes with a Z3950 server built in. And we had the first ever Kohacon, which was in France, and the experience of me and this Kohacon is very similar because I'm speaking, in there I was speaking to French speakers who weren't mostly understanding me, and I'm speaking to people, so it's all come around. So there was even harder because I had a translator and I started in Mali, but I didn't want to, so she was quite confused. She was trying to translate Mali into French. And that's kind of set with the scene of the future Kohacon. And yeah, at that point we also moved from version control in the PBS, which is the old way of doing version control, to get, if any of you developers, you probably know. And we set up some mailing lists, and we got the first French website. So I think that was the first website, non-English website.
Yeah, I think so. Then in 2008, 2009, Koha faced some trouble. Maybe you have heard of it, maybe you haven't, because it's past history now, but as we talk about history, we have to talk about it. In 2007, a US company, Midline, bought Katipo Koha activity in New Zealand, and as a gift in the wedding, how do you say that? Well, as a gift, the Koha.org domain was included, and all the source code and all the tools that were managed by the Koha community. And many things happened. Another US company, PTFS, wanted to do also some business in US around Koha and was competing with LibLime. And I don't want to try to explain what happened, why this happened, but what happened, the result was that people at LibLime were not sharing with others anymore. They were closing a lot of things people from outside LibLime had access to before. For example, we could not update the Koha.org website anymore, etc., etc. And many ugly things like this happened. So at the end, a lot of LibLime people resigned from LibLime because they were not happy with how things were going. Chris resigned, and some others that are not here, but many of them are still involved in the Koha community. And LibLime announced a new product called LibLime Enterprise Koha that will not be distributed. It will be only available as a cloud computing service. And the problem here is that the license of Koha says if you distribute the product, you must distribute the source code with it. But if you say, I don't distribute the product, I just give an access to a cloud computing service, so I don't distribute, so I don't share the source code. So that was too much for most of Koha developers. So we decided to move out from Koha.org and LibLime stuff. We decided to exit Koha.org and start a Kohacommunity.org website and move all the things we had on Koha.org on this new domain. So the source code tracking, the wiki, the Bugzilla, everything has been moved from the old Koha.org domain to the new Kohacommunity.org. As there is no one from LibLime here, I can say, but it's a secret, please don't say it outside. We had some people inside LibLime that made some dump of database of Koha.org and give them to us, so we could move everything almost without any damage, except a lot of work to do, a lot of things to do that we were not very happy to do, but we decided to go that way, and we made it. As a result, my main conclusion about that is that really it's the proof that open source is stronger. Sometimes people that are not knowing well open source say, but what if the project stops? But can an open source software last for a long time? And yes, this story is a proof that open source is stronger than closed source on this matter, because you see, a company cannot decide to change itself, the license of a software. A company like LibLime could not decide to stop selling Koha or promoting Koha, because if someone does this, then the rest of the community just goes somewhere else and continue the work. Okay. So I won't say there has been no consequences on our daily work, because we had a lot of things to deal with that we were not happy to deal, and it took us a long time. Chris said Joshua was the release manager for the new version of Koha, and Joshua was the boss of LibLime, so we had no more release manager. We found another one. Well, it has been a little bit complex and not very funny to deal with, but we made it. At the end of 2008, maybe beginning of 2009, someone raised his hand and said, hey, 2 years ago we had a Koha conference in France. Why has there been no more conference? We say, okay, if you want to organize one, let's just do it. So that's how the Koha conference started to be every year. In 2009, we had a Koha conference in Texas, in US. In 2010, for the 10th anniversary of Koha, we had one in New Zealand. In Wellington, the Kohacon14 was in India, Kohacon12 in UK. Last year, it was in Reno, Nevada. And this year, it's here in Argentina. PTFS and Limline relationship are, well, in fact, mostly we are ignoring each other. They are doing their own stuff, we are doing our own stuff. Last year, at least 90 libraries switched from Limline support to community support. When I mean community support, I mean community or a company involved in the community. There has been another company, by water, Heineken, that has been funded in which year? 2011? 2009. That is dedicated to Koha development and support in the US, and they are a full member of the community. So many libraries, many US libraries decided to switch from PDFs to BioWare. That's also another strength of the open source. You can keep your software, but change your provider if you are not happy with the one you have.
So we also took the opportunity of a whole lot of change and discussions to change some of our workflows as well. So what we did in here is we set a workflow for the patches, which I won't go into too much detail, it's probably more interesting for the hackers, but it means that every patch has to be seen by 2 or 3 people before it goes to the code, so more quality.
And I'll talk about that in my presentation.
And we've got a QA manager position and many more developers and users. So in 2011, we introduced what time-based releases, which is how we do it now. So it means that every 6 months we do a major release. So libraries know, developers know, everyone knows that every 6 months a major release is going to come out. Every month we might do a little bug fix, maybe take 5 or 6 bugs, but it's consistent and everyone can pay for that. You're going to know that you need to upgrade maybe once a year, every year. We also switched from our templating system to a much better templating system and allowed the translations to do a bit better. I think 2008 when we got our first translation manager. I think, when did you start? You started translation manager last year? Yeah, so I think, so I was translation manager for a while, and then, Frederick. Oh yeah, Frederick. Yeah, and then Ruth. So yeah, we introduced the translation manager position as well to try and manage making the translation of Koha to other languages easier. We're still working on it, getting there. It's getting better all the time. And so, these 2 releases were quite. They were the first time we did timeline, and we had a lot of data left over from some of the fallout from Midline that we had to tidy up. So these releases mostly cleaned things up and had a huge amount of stuff. Yeah, something. The easy analytics is for doing serials. You know, you have a journal and doing articles to it, or a journal and you link it to a bound. You know, at the end of the year, sometimes you buy it. It's interesting for library.
Yeah, because for Koha 3.8 and 10, I was with the manager again. So he didn't say, but for Koha 3.4 and 6, he was release manager once again, and then after it was my turn once again, and I think he will be never released. Probably.
My wife says I'm never allowed to be release manager.
We've heard that before.
So for Koha 3.8, we introduced wholly loans. Before this version, we had only the possibility to check out items for 1 day. Now in Koha, we have, it's possible to issue items for 1 hour or 6 hours. We also started an offline circulation module, which is a Firefox module that lets you continue to check out and check in items, even if your network is dead. You can continue to check in and check out, and when the network comes back, everything is sent to Koha, and Koha says if there is any problem. Koha 3.8 also had a new staff interface design. The previous one was very basic, and many libraries wanted something more sexy or more appealing. All content, it included 130 enhancements and coming from 71 different developers. Then the version 3.10, November 2012. The main thing was responsive design OPAC. You know what is responsive design? It means the OPAC of Koha also works on my cell phone or on the tablet or on kind of things like that. This version also included 160 enhancements, more than 400 bug fixes, and the description of all enhancements is 43 pages with a lot of screenshots, etc. Just to give you an idea. In fact, maybe you said that, I will repeat. Having a release every 6 months does not mean you have to upgrade every 6 months. You can upgrade once a year or once every 18 months because the upgrade process is incremental. So if you are in 3.2 and decide to upgrade to 3.12, Koha will do an upgrade from 3.2 to 3.12. That's not a problem. And the upgrade will be made in one run. Okay? Believe my company, we support more than 100 libraries now. No, 100 customers, not more than 500 libraries, and we upgrade once every year. So we did 3.10, 3.14, we will upgrade to 3.18 after, etc., etc.
So in 2013, we had 2 more releases. Jared, who's going to be talking, I think, later today, and Galen as well, were the release managers here. So tomorrow, Galen's speaking tomorrow. So the big thing in 3.12 was the patient self-registration. So now people can go to the OPAC and ask to be a member of the library, and it comes through to the staff, and they can go get some, show me some ID or whatever you need. And we did, a whole lot of work around the serials, linking the subscription of the serials to the acquisition problem, so that you can pay for the serials and link those 2 things together. And then we also more work around multi-grants. Lots of libraries, lots of Koha users are made up of consortia. So different libraries, and they have slightly different rules and different shelving locations, so we need to support that. For 3.14, the big change there was we changed the responsive OPAC to use Bootstrap. I don't know if any of you use Twitter. So Twitter uses Bootstrap, which is the engine it uses to draw the screen, and it's responsive. We switched to use that as well. It supports many more devices. And of course the verbs, which is academic writers. And then also another offline circulation model. I think this one is a Windows one. Is that
No, this one is. I don't know, because there is. No. Yeah, this one is HTML5.
Too much, I can't remember. And also in 2013, I spent probably 70 hours more, maybe it felt like 700 hours with lawyers It was restricted in December, and then in June, the trademark was awarded to the Kohacon Trust, which was the library that wrote Koha. Yeah, that wasn't fun. I know way too much about trademark law now. Anyone should have to know.
So now the trademark for Europe has been given to HLT by us. The trademark for New Zealand is to HLT. So there is just one trademark remaining in US. Probably in Argentina there is no trademark for Koha. And that's something that is bothering us as developers, but we must care as people supporting a software, because with a trademark we could face a situation where the company owning the trademark would say you cannot use the word Koha anymore. Do you know IFA? Yeah? This year IFA was in France, so we had a booth with my company, we had a booth with Koha logo, and you can't imagine how many people came and said, hey, you are Koha, Koha software, I know Koha. Many people. Koha is really a name that is worth in the library world. So it's very important that the trademark is in the community hands. So no one can use it in an evil way. So here you see some numbers. I think we will be able soon to add this year, but you see the number, this graph shows the history of Koha. At the beginning there were only a few developers, now we have reached more than 200 developers. Don't misinterpret those numbers, because 200 developers does not mean there is 200 people working every day on Koha. I see Thomas saying, we all would like 200 developers work every day. Most of those developers worked for a few patches, a small time, and they fix a problem that is annoying them, or they add a feature that they want, and now they are happy, so they don't contribute anymore. The core developers of Koha is probably 10, 15? Yeah, 10, 15, okay. I mean, developers that are involved in Koha for years and that submit or validate or test patches regularly in long period. You can see also the number of commits. There is one line I haven't added, which is the number of lines of source code in the software, which is now more than 500,000, 600,000, something like that, including translation, which is the biggest part of the software itself. But it's a large software doing a lot of things. And if you look at features now, most of the requirements of most libraries are in Koha. There is no problem with using Koha if you look at the features. Okay.
So yeah, this year, going into another room, often people will do two because it's 1 year. He might not, he's got a good excuse not to. And so we had, for that one, what we did was we added, we did some more work on Plaque. Plaque is a way of speeding things up. So the big challenge in the moment in Koha is not so much features, we're fairly good on features. It's getting some more speed out of it, you know. Computers have gotten faster, and people are used to waiting shorter times. So we can do a lot of work to make Koha faster, and that's what we're working on at the moment. So I've got faster in 316, it'll be a little faster again, creating faster again. Yeah, if you want to know what's in creating, you've got the man like you can ask him.
In Spanish?
And then, next year on.
Yeah. Next year we will see what will happen, but we most of us agree, and I think I don't understand Spanish, but I think Thomas said something about that. Koha, the internals of Koha when you look at the source code of the software, you can see that it's 15 years old. There are many things that must be rewritten because new techniques and new technology and new tools have appeared since the 5 last years, and there is a big effort to do to not to change any feature. That's something that maybe you will never see, but change many internals of Koha, upgrade them, update them, and change them, and to get a software that will be faster, easier to maintain, and better on the long term. Maybe any question? In Spanish, and Thomas will translate or answer. Or in French or in Maori, which one? That's the same man who was speaking.
So, what can we do while the stretch and strategies to change that?
A simple thing that anyone can do is if you write, if you have a blog or you publish or you write for a journal or anything, put a link to Koha community. Google's ranking algorithm works on the number of things that look at it. So we've got, there was like 8 years of history of Koha.org. We've done 6 years of Koha community, we're now number 2. If we keep linking to it, we'll be number 1, problem solved. So that's a simple thing that people can do, but it's not something you can hurry up. You just need people. So if everyone goes home today and writes a blog post and link to it, that will help. Yeah.
And if you had $500,000 to give us to sue Libyan, I'm not sure we would be using it to sue Libyan. I think we would prefer to invest it in doing some code.
I've seen enough lawyers.
I don't know in my country, but for my country in France, it's really not a problem. Everybody knows that Koha is kohacommunity.org. I think it can be a problem in US because there is this company in US. They don't do any business in Argentina, I think.
Here in Argentina, we have a similar problem with a 2004 form that made a university, and some people put, for example, Koha Windows to have the possibility to install Koha Windows, and they get to another Koha port, and they get confused. So the similar aspect we have already here in that problem.
I think it's a big problem. In many parts of the world, I think it's a big problem. One option is always to rename the project.
Yeah, but renaming the project is a very, very bad idea. Because we saw at IFLA that so many people use Koha.
I think to make the solution, I think the problem will, I think the domain will disappear. I think it's no one telling them to it's going to relapse at the end of this year if they don't renew it. They haven't renewed it yet. So I think PTFS is kind of, with losing the trademark, they may have given up the fight. I think they've already started not referring to Koha as Koha in their press releases on ptfs.com. They call it their library management system. They don't actually use the word Koha anymore there. They still do on midline, but they don't know PTFS anymore. So I think they're positioning themselves to move. So I think they may be named theirs, and that will be the best option.
That's the best solution.
Yeah.
It might be damaged.
think the name and Koha, if you Google Live and Koha, you don't find very much good stuff. So I think they want to move away from that.
In the United States, at least, most of our customers investigate at least two options. So they see this Live on thing, and then they call us or another company and say, hey, what's this other product? And we educate them on the history in a very tasteful and professional way. And most of the time, these people already know, because of all the negative press that was created during this initial battle. When they do a search for Koha, that also comes up where it says, Live Line Force Koha. And they're like, whoa, yeah, that's not what we signed up. So yeah, sorry. That's how it is in the States.
Another question?
We have 3 minutes for a question. Thomas?
This is the first time we held a conference in Latin America.
Yes.
Where will the next one be?
The only candidate we have for the next Kohacon is in Nigeria, in Africa. The good news is that it would be the first conference in Africa. The bad news is you all know what is happening in Nigeria between the Ebola fever, Boko Haram terrorists, etc. So, yes.